Justice for JJ and Tylee would be Chad and Lori getting sentenced for their murder and spending the rest of their life behind bars.
East Idaho resident Janice Summer has made up her mind when it comes to the guilt of doomsday prophet Chad Daybell and his wife, Lori. The couple is accused of conspiring to hide the remains of Lori's missing children on Chad Daybell's property in the fall of 2019, months before the couple believed the world would end.
It's just sad that they use religion to take the lives of so many innocent people.
Sentiments like these leave little doubt that the defense will ask to move the trial out of Fremont County.
Any defense attorney worth his salt would want to move the case someplace where nobody knew any of the parties or had ever heard about the case.
Finding those potential jurors in East Idaho will be nearly impossible, says former prosecutor Lynn Hosner.
They may not exactly know who did it, but it's obvious that they were killed. They were buried on the defendant's property. And I'm certain that people will make a lot of assumptions based on those two factors.
The couple's fringe beliefs could also hurt them in this area where many people belong to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
I don't think people really realized how many fringe believers there were in the area, and I think that's partly what's captivated people, that there was something going on here that they didn't really know about.
Now that a judge has ruled there's enough evidence for Chad Daybell to stand trial, the defense is expected to file a venue change motion.
60 days from today's date will be the deadline for either the state or the defense to file a motion to transfer the location of the trial.
East Idaho News has been on the story since the beginning.
The interest in this case is immense.
East Idaho News' website traffic speaks to the case's intrigue.
Chad Daybell's story started in December of 2019, and you can see that between November and December we jumped up about 3 million, and going from there to this year we've had a lot of Daybell coverage, and the traffic from it just keeps going up.
Managing editor Nate Sunderland agrees it will be difficult to find an unbiased jury in East Idaho.
You go to the barber shop, this is what we talk about. You go to a hair salon, this is what we talk about. We've been talking about it for months.
Ultimately, a district court judge will decide where the case ends up.
I'd probably just want to move it to Timbuktu, but since you can't do that, I'd probably just as soon try it in northern Idaho, which I suspect doesn't have the publicity that we've had here in southern Idaho.
Vinny, Lynn Hosner right there, the former prosecutor, mentioning northern Idaho as one of the possible venue changes from out of Fremont County. It could go, that's even more rural than where we are right here in East Idaho. Other options could be the capital city, Boise, Idaho, would offer a more diverse jury pool for this case. And farther away from the LDS influence, we know that that's big here, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Even the prosecutor, Rob Wood, is a leader in the LDS Church, a former bishop. With that, from defense perspective, that could possibly endear a potential jury pool here towards the prosecution. So other options even closer, Pocatello, it would be more convenient for the parties, a more diverse jury pool. So some options for this judge to look at as he considers this upcoming motion from the defense, Vinny.
Fascinating. Now, different jurisdictions and different judges do this differently. I mean, I've seen some judges who said, no, we're gonna pick a jury, and then if we figure out we can't pick one, then you can make your motion, or we'll deal with it when we find out we have a problem. What's the procedure in Idaho? So let's say, for instance, the defendant, Chad Daybell, wants this thing moved. What do they have to do?
Well, there's a criminal rule of procedure here in Idaho. It's Rule 21, transfer for trial. And basically the standard or the burden here is to show the judge that it would be difficult to pick a jury that hasn't already made up its mind. And in order to do that, the defense would have to submit probably some exhibits of photos, videos, media stories to help support the fact that everyone is talking about this case. Like we showed in that story, go to the barbershop here, you're going to be talking about it. The hair salon. Also, being here in East Idaho, Rexburg, Madison County, Fremont County, there's constant reminders. When you exit the interstate here to come to this courthouse in St. Anthony, there are signs and posters with JJ and Tylee's photo on them right next to the sign that says "Welcome to St. Anthony." Outside the courthouse here across the street, there's also posters that say "Forever in our hearts." And then in Madison County, where Rexburg is, there are the blue and white ribbons the last time we were here tied all over. So that would be sort of the evidence that a defense would want to show to say, look, that it's just impossible, Judge, for us to even try.
All right, let's bring in the rest of the Court TV team of legal journalists, the best in the business. Ashley Banfield with us, Ted Rowlands, Julie Grant. Ashley, we've been down this road many times. I mean, Court TV, this is what we do. We cover high-profile cases. That's all we do. We've been doing it for years. To me, there's almost an advantage to the defense if they don't move, because we have this thing called voir dire or voir dire, depending on where you're from, where you get to ask questions of these jurors. And the jurors think about who would be left over that hasn't made up their mind out there in Fremont County. To me, those would be the perfect jurors for the defense. They've seen all this stuff, but they still are not convinced.
Yeah, and I honestly think that you can go to northern Idaho, you can go to western Idaho, you can go to southern Idaho. I don't think you're going to find anybody that nice former prosecutor thinks that they might find, someone who, hasn't been as exposed to this case. I mean, I'm in Connecticut, I think you can see behind me. And everybody here knows about it, who's talking about it. And so we have done this a lot, Vinny. We have covered these cases. And usually when they get to the level that we're covering them, there's a lot of, potential jury poisoning in the pool out there. And then we discuss it. And oftentimes every case that we cover has this issue that comes up in advance. But I always have the same answer. And I add to it every decade or so. It started with OJ. And if you can pick a jury for OJ, you can pick a jury for these two. And then I added Casey Anthony. If you can pick a jury for Casey Anthony, you can pick a jury for these two. It just is a little bit more sticky. And yes, voir dire or voir dire, as we say in Texas, that is a really, really good window into the hearts, minds, and souls of those people who will sit in judgment. And I remember in the Casey case, this was the first time I had seen it, they bussed in the jurors. They didn't move the trial. They moved the pool, and they brought that pool in to sit in judgment of Casey Anthony. It can be done, but I dare say if you want a jury that isn't affected by this, then you got to find a place that has no children or people who've had no children, because that would be the only way that you could find somebody who isn't as angry as I am today after listening to what I heard in those 2 days of prelim.
Julie Grant, did you notice Ashley Banfield slide into that Texas accent so quickly?
I
very
did.
revealing. I mean, I know she spent several years down there working, so she knows that
Yes.
accent well.
They love her
Julie,
there. Yeah.
Timbuktu.
Yeah, I know that was cute when that former prosecutor said move the case there to Timbuktu. Well, we know that can't happen, but it very well may be moved. And I think the important thing to think about is when these prospective jurors are called to the table, knowing the parties, knowing the defendants, knowing the witnesses, that is a big problem, yes. But just hearing about the case, no, that is not a problem. And that's a big misconception that I think it's important for us to clear up here. The standard is, can you judge the facts of the case fairly? So it's okay if you've read about the case, heard about the case, watched Court TV and learned a lot about the case. That's all okay, that's fine. But the issue is, can you set aside everything you've read and any opinions you might have formed and go in with a clean slate and judge the case fairly on what's presented before you in that court of law in terms of facts, evidence, witness testimony, all of it. So I think that's important to consider. Certainly this judge is going to consider that in weighing this motion and deciding whether or not this change of venue is warranted. So I think we're probably going to see some action in the way of pretrial motions for change of venue, Vinny. I really do.
Ted Rowlands. Ted, were you at the Michael Jackson trial? I thought you were.
Absolutely.
Okay, that was a change of venue, right? They went to the middle of nowhere for that one.
Santa Maria County, yes, in California, and that, I guess, worked. To me, this is a no-brainer. You have to move it because they're in the Mormon version of Timbuktu right now. Everybody knows about this, and they're all Mormon. It's not fair to the defense. They have to move it to Boise. It's a no-brainer. And why even go through voir dire here and then find out you have to move it? It's a small community. It's going to be expensive. Guaranteed this thing moves.
Chanley, you're on the ground there. I know you got your hand on the pulse of this case. Do you think the bigger issue is the LDS issue versus the publicity? Because the publicity is everywhere. I mean, it's in my basement, for goodness sake, every night. So what do you think? Do you think the defense is more concerned about the LDS connection here or the publicity?
You know, that's a balance because both are an issue. Everywhere you go, you know about this case. And another thing that was mentioned to me today by the East Idaho News managing editor was that even the influx of media from all over the nation, the presence of more people go on Chad Daybell tours here, go to the home and the crime scene and everything. He was telling me this today. And that presence has, even those who maybe don't watch news or listen or go hear the gossip at the barbershop, are asking, well, why are all these people here? Why is the court TV van here? Then that's how they're learning about the case, going in and maybe making a decision. But equally, almost as concerning to the defense attorneys is that LDS population, because again, religion is such a theme in this case. And a lot of people think the reason that these kids were where they were and found where they were found. So it's going to be an equal, probably, balance between those two concerns.
All right, we've got a lot more to talk about tonight, but I would really love Ashley Banfield to send us to break in a Texas accent. That would be amazing.
Oh, that is not hard to do. I will tell you this right now. But I'm going to make one more comment, and that is that under COVID, a lot of people have been watching the news and consuming the news, Vinny. And so you can take it anywhere you want, but if you think someone's not going to be exposed because they're in Boise, et cetera, they are under COVID reading and watching and bored out of their minds. And so this is the biggest thing going, other than cable news and,
Absolutely.
what's on there.
Gotcha. All right, we'll be back.